This video is brought to you by Yours. Go to yoursapp.com/Hudson and use code Hudson to save 60% off a 1-year plan. Also, I'm on Letterboxd now at RealBHLHudson. I'm not quite sure what I'll do with it yet, but follow me there. Letterboxd. Funny thing to think about, we haven't had an actual solo Batman movie in a decade now. Even though the character has popped up in various movies, shows, with different incarnations, the last time this character had a solo movie was when Christian Bale was nodding to Alfred at a cafe, or maybe he wasn't. Regardless, after the coolness and then ultimately wasted potential that was the DCEU Batman, we've gotten the reboot with Robert Pattinson, Batman, releasing last weekend to much anticipation. Is this a fitting return to solo moviedom for the character? Let's talk about it.
I've been trying to reach you. Where you gone?
And don't worry, I'm going non-spoilers for this video, even though you've all probably seen this by now. If you've been following my channel, you know this was the most excited I've been for a film in a little while, probably since Endgame. I mean, it just looked like a perfect take on Batman, using elements of what has made the others work, but in a fresh new way, realistic but still stylized, more mystery-oriented, badass, brutal action, and after having seen it, I can confirm that it pretty much lived up to all of my hype. All those videos where I was talking about what I was hoping this movie would be, the Batman is basically all of it. I think Robert Pattinson was perfect for this version of the character, and I like the new direction they took Bruce Wayne here, at least the new direction cinematically. Having the character not even maintaining his billionaire playboy facade that other Bruce Waynes have kept up, and having his brooding, reclusive side being his only other mode besides his breaking people's faces mode, made for an interesting change, and Pattinson pulled it off brilliantly. Yes, it could be argued that there's a bit of an element of overly dramatic and melancholic vibe to some of it, like it did make me think of some Batman parodies at moments in his brooding sadness, but I thought for the style of film it was, with that stylized noir edge, it worked really well here. That noir style, by the way, is so perfect for this character, and in previous films we've definitely gotten noir elements. You could call some of those films neo-noir even, but this is just straight up a noir, with the narration, the morally grey protagonist, the dark color palette, and it plays so well here. That speaks to this film's style as well, which I loved. While more grounded than a lot of superhero movies that come out these days, it's more stylized and movie-like than the Nolan films, for example. No discredit to them, that tone worked really well there, but here, blending a more gritty, grounded superhero world with these big, swelling movie moments and these gorgeous shots, I just loved it. God, there's so much I want to talk about here. I'm already all over the place. But on the rest of the cast, I think Zoe Kravitz might be my favorite Catwoman to date. Just embodies that badass, flirtatious with Batman, ferocious vibe so well. I also liked her character's arc in the film. Paul Dano is as brilliant as I expected he'd be. Such an inspired casting choice. The Riddler's just weird and creepy and unsettling, and I thought the Seven-style twist they put on that character was fascinating, with the whole movie having a bit of a Seven vibe to it. Andy Serkis was good as Alfred. Also big Easter egg, at one point Alfred says the word circus, and that circusception crossover blew my mind. And Jeffrey Wright and Colin Farrell both were perfect as their respective characters. Also adding some of the film's brief levity in a natural, fun way, and playing well off of Pattinson's Batman. On the film's visuals, which I touched on briefly earlier, this is definitely the most gorgeous Batman film. I mean, just look at these shots. The composition, the lighting, it's something I'm really glad I got to see on a really big screen. I love the use of color in the film, red being one of the main ones, which played really well against the otherwise really dark color palette. The lighting for certain scenes, like the gunfight in the hallway, was really creative. There's one shot towards the end, no spoilers, but if you've seen it, I think you'll know which one I'm talking about. That was just beautiful. Visually, symbolically, just a phenomenal shot. I'm trying not to sound like a pretentious, annoying film student, but it's a beautiful movie, okay? It looked amazing. Speaking of visuals, I also love this Batman's costume. Again, like the rest of the film, dark and gritty, but not insanely realistic. Like, it still definitely has a bit of a comic book style to it in a way. And this Batman in general, definitely a different version of this character in some ways from what we're used to, but a pretty damn great one. I absolutely love the way they built up his presence in Gotham. That scene towards the start with criminals fearing the shadows is maybe one of the best scenes in any Batman film ever, in my opinion. I know it's not the most spectacular or insane, but it just introduces this character perfectly. Now, real quick, I'd like to note that something Batman could probably use is a bit of relaxation and time to explore his mindfulness, which he could do if he used the Yours app, which I've partnered with for today's video. Yours is the fastest growing self-care and mindfulness app on the market. Mindfulness is a fantastic way to start taking better care of your mental health, and Yours is accessible to everyone, given its affordable pricing and compatibility with iOS and Android. If it existed in the DC world, it'd probably also work on the Bat computer. Yep. Nailed that integration. It has some content that's completely free, and if you want the premium, there's a 7-day free trial with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Some of its features include yoga practices, meditations for all levels, sleep stories, breathing exercises, a relaxing sound library, and so much more. So follow that link in the description, go to yoursapp.com/Hudson to let them know that I sent you, and use code Hudson, HUDSON, to save 60% on a 1-year plan. Alright, back to the video. The action scenes also incredible. I've mentioned the creativity in the lighting and how some are shot, but all in all, really well choreographed, super brutal, everything feels real and like it's landing and shattering people's bones. There's an appropriate amount of Batman gadget use. The music's incredible, as it is throughout the film. That score is going to become iconic, mark my words. Great stuff. But I also did really enjoy that the film isn't really an action movie, at least not as much as most other superhero movies. And again, nothing against those movies, obviously. I seem to enjoy them, if you can tell. But this movie's style, leaning much more into the mystery, detective, noir, mob side of things, really worked. It was a bit of a risk. Like, I think some people may find this movie a bit boring if you are more just there for Batman beating people up scenes, but I thought it was a fascinating way of exploring the character and a well overdue one. Something that's been played with in parts in previous Batman films, but never fully explored in this way. It was great to finally see his full detective skills in a genuinely compelling mystery story. The film reminded me a tiny bit of Prisoners. Maybe my mind just went there because Paul Dano's in it, but in the way the mystery unfolded and certain characters are thought to be a certain way, but then are revealed to be something else, it's a very engaging story. And I also like that there is a ton of Batman in this movie, but it isn't all just him beating people's asses. That's been a criticism of previous Batman films. There isn't much Batman in it. And yeah, he's not always in an action scene in this movie, but there is a lot of Batman. You will not be disappointed with a lack of Batman. There's definitely a lot of him beating people's asses, and it's great, but the fact that we get this new take on the character, that as I said, there have been elements of before, but to focus the whole film on it, brilliant stuff. The film does definitely change some things about traditional Batman lore, at least the lore that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's a comic out there where everything that happens here happens, but from my understanding of the character, this definitely changes some things, also just about his world and some of the side characters, but I think it does it for the best in service of this version of this world. This is still a very recognizable version of Batman, but this film's world is different enough to make it unique, also including its style, and has me very excited to see more films set in this version of this character's world. I also really liked Bruce Wayne's arc in this film. Not to say he doesn't go through arcs in other films, but in this one, it just stood out to me how well written this was. Where his mentality is at the start of the film, and where it is at the end, and how we get there is really well done and natural feeling, and again, left me excited to see where this character will go next with what he's learned from the events of this film. As far as complaints go, I don't have many. The 3-hour runtime didn't bother me at all, besides the very end. The movie does pull a bit of a Lord of the Rings and have like 5 different endings, and by the 4th one, I was starting to think, okay, my legs are maybe starting to cramp a little, we can wrap this up now. I don't think it needed all of those endings, but still, all in all, for a 3-hour film, it was really well paced. Again, I just love the risks this took. A 3-hour Batman detective serial killer story, and it was pulled off so well. A couple of moments were a little cheesy, I guess, but again, I like that this movie leaned into still being a stylized movie and not being 100% realistic, even though it is a bit more grounded than a typical superhero film. I don't know, I really love this movie. I don't have much bad to say. Now, as the title and thumbnail of this video ask, is this the best superhero movie ever? Well, first of all, you may be thinking, that's an exaggeration, and I will just say that does make for a more clickable title and thumbnail than simply, The Batman, good movie, I like. Thumbs up. But if we are actually going to ask that question, I do think it's too soon to tell. I'd want to give it a bit of space before saying something like that, maybe rewatch it a few times. But I can say this is the most I've loved a superhero movie in a while. And on this kind of scale, if you know what I mean. Like, I love this movie in the same way that I loved Logan or The Dark Knight. It felt like a real event film, and like something that'll become a classic and a staple of the genre. Also, given how diverse this quote-unquote genre is now anyways, it is hard to name a favorite, because I love something like Guardians of the Galaxy and Logan for completely different reasons and in totally different ways. But as of right now, I can confidently say The Batman is one of the best superhero movies I've seen in a while, and could go on to become one of my all-time favorites. We'll have to wait and see though. So in conclusion, that was kind of my conclusion. The Batman's amazing, and basically everything I was hoping it would be. Intense, dark, stylish, very engaging with an interesting story and new style of story for this character, cinematically speaking. Great performances, phenomenal action and visuals. It feels like a really special film. Yes, a couple of minor complaints here and there, but overall, I'm gonna give The Batman a 9.5 out of 10. And here's how my rating system works for those who don't know. It's up there with the Nolan films as my favorite Batman movie. Again, I still don't know exactly where it fit in that ranking, but it's up there. Here's my provisional ranking right now, but this could change around. So, those were my thoughts on The Batman. What did you think of it? And where does it rank amongst Batman movies and amongst superhero movies of all time for you? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, check out the description for yours. Code Hudson 60%. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, my TikTok at BHLHudson, check out this podcast that I do with a friend of mine where we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.